Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Will on Safety. Today is Toolbox Talk Tuesday. So for today's Toolbox, we're going to discuss cold weather safety. Okay, so most of us, when we talk about safety, we think about construction, we think about working in factories, working on sites, etc., etc. Okay, but cold weather, it does affect us all, especially if our work relates to working outside and in the elements. Obviously, cold weather is going to be different for everybody. I'm fortunate enough to work globally, so I do visit a lot of different countries, and the weather goes from being quite mild to being utterly Baltic cold. It can also affect people as well. When we talk about cold weather safety, it can affect people that work in cold environments. So those folks that are working in, for example, industrial sort of freezers and fridges, maybe they're distribution centres for big supermarkets, that type of stuff. Same sort of end result can occur if we don't take proper precautions. So what can happen then when we're talking about cold weather safety? There's me, I've got my swimming head on. So the first thing is hypothermia. So that's a condition which the body uses up its stored energy and can no longer produce heat. All right, it often occurs after prolonged exposure to cold temperatures. Early signs that include shivering, loss of concentration. Okay, but you should seek medical help if you get blue skin, the shivering stops, or you have loss of consciousness. Next up is frostbite then. So an injury to the body that's caused by freezing, which most often affects nose, ears, cheeks, chin, fingers, and or toes. Okay. Symptoms for this are reduced blood flow to hands, feet, numbness, aching, tingling, and stinging. And we need first aid. If you need first aid to combat that frostbite, you need to move to a warm place. Immerse yourself in warm water, so not hot, just sort of tepid warm. You don't want to make it too hot, otherwise that's going to cause you more problems. Okay, so not hot water, just warm water, and slowly warm the affected part of the body up. Okay. Another one to think about is trench foot. Now, when we think about trench foot, we think about the First World War. Fighting in the trenches, your feet were constantly immersed. Yeah, super cold temperatures is obviously not good. But trench foot can affect people like construction workers, etc. If they've got broken PPE, maybe their safety boots have holes in them. Yeah, that can lead to the feet being immersed, and it can lead to trench foot. So symptoms are redness of skin, tingling, stinging, blisters, all right, and bleeding under the skin. The first aid for that: remove the boots or shoes, remove wet socks, dry the feet, slowly warm, and keep them dry. Okay. So who's at risk then? Well, everybody's at risk really that works in those cold weather environments or cold environments. Okay, so it's imperative that when we're going about our daily business, when we're working alongside our colleagues, we're keeping an eye out for each other. We're making sure that people's PPE are in a good state of repair. We're making sure that they're dressed appropriately for the weather conditions. All right. So how can we prevent the injuries then? So the best way to limit your risk is obviously to be prepared. It means checking the weather forecast for the days and weeks ahead. Dress in layers. Okay, if you dress in layers, what happens there? It traps the heat, and that's going to keep you warmer. So several layers of loose clothing is a better insulator than one thick coat. People think, oh, it's absolutely bloody freezing, I'm going to whack a massive jacket on. That isn't going to keep you as warm as dressing in loads of little layers. Maybe you've got a merino wool top, and then on top of that a fleece, and then on top of that a jacket. Dress in those little thin layers. Okay. Also, It allows you to shed layers if the temperature rises throughout the day or you get too hot. Okay, bring extra socks. It's a bit of a silly one, this, but we don't think about it because when you're at work, you remember your snack, you remember your dinner, your lunches, your breakfast, whatever time of day you work in, but you won't take extra clothing in case your clothing gets wet. I'm quite outdoorsy. I like going walking in the mountains and stuff. I'll always take extra tops, extra pants, extra socks, because you just know by experience this stuff gets wet, especially when the weather's inclement. So do the same at work as well. Have an extra pair of socks in your car. Okay. Thick socks and boots mean your feet will sweat more than you realise. Change your socks when they get wet or halfway through the day, if you start to feel them getting damp. That's going to lessen the effects of trench foot, hopefully stop you from getting it. All right, be prepared to take additional breaks throughout the day. Don't just soldier on. All right, if it's absolutely freezing, make sure you're having those heat breaks. Get yourself into an environment that's a bit warmer. Allow your body to warm up again before you get back out onto, the site, the construction ground, wherever you're working, back in the cold again, okay? So, in summary, make sure we watch out for others, all right? Often, cold water, I keep saying that's because I went swimming this weekend. Often, a cold-related injury comes from overdoing it, trying to tough it out, work through, and not knowing the symptoms of frostbite, hypothermia, trench foot, etc. Don't allow your co-workers to push through when they're shivering or wet. You can tell when somebody's freezing cold. Get them into a warm environment, get them heated up, and then get them back to work, okay? Take pride in helping them finish the project or task. It's important you never judge or criticise anybody for being cold, all right? We're human. Cold affects us all completely differently. Myself, I'm carrying a couple of extra layers of fat on my body at the moment. So, I'm going to get a bit less cold than somebody that's, say, I don't know, 9 stone soaking wet through. So, coldness is personable. So let's make sure we're just taking care of each other and making sure that we're getting people inside to warm up when need be. So as a supervisor or site manager, or cold weather store manager, whatever you are, there are a couple of questions you can ask yourself. Are you keeping an eye on the weather forecast? Are you briefing it to your teams the night before? Do you have a place to have warm breaks, and are you encouraging it? Make sure you say to the guys and girls that are working, do you know what, if you start to feel cold, have a warm break. Get yourself inside for 5 minutes. Warm your body up before cracking on with what you're doing. Okay? Have you had anybody in the team that's experienced hypothermia, trench foot, or especially frostbite? With frostbite, if you've had it previously, it makes the body more susceptible to get it again. So make sure you're aware, of your team members and if anybody's had those types of injuries. Okay? Make sure you remind your team to bring a change of clothes, change of socks, warm gear, extra layers, all that good stuff that we'd expect you to have when working in cold weather environments. Okay, we do it when we travel up and down the freeway, the motorway, whatever country we're in. Okay, we have warm gear in our cars during winter, don't we? If we go out on a hike or if we're camping, we make sure we've got extra layers and clothing and warm drinks, etc. So let's get that instilled at work and let's reduce these type of injuries. Okay, but that's it for today's Toolbox Talk. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit that subscribe button. It's going to help the Will on Safety community grow. It's free to do, and make sure you hit the notification bell as well. I'm trying to post at least 2 videos a week, and it's just going to send you a little notification that a new video has been added, so you're not going to miss any good stuff. Any questions or anything, or if you'd like me to cover a specific topic, just leave it in the comments below. I try and respond to 100% of the comments. But that's it. So until next time, folks, remember, be safe by choice and not by chance. Bye for now.